Good evening here, ladies and gentlemen. This is Hubert Helderbush here with the Tag Team Podcast Champions. The main event in just 3 very short weeks. They're going to be defending their podcast tag team titles against the American Alpha at Wrestlemania. And I'm here now with a Hoosier Heavyweight. He's here to tell us about the event coming up. Tell me, Hoosier Heavyweight, what do you feel about American Alpha?
What do I feel about American Alpha? I feel that they're cowards. They stand in the back and they call themselves champions, yet I've not one time have I seen them defend those belts properly. You look at me and my heavyweight freaking tag team partner over here, Bluegrass, every Sunday night, we're out here, our belts are on the line, and let me tell you something, brother, we are the best in the world at what we do. So I got one thing for you, American Alpha. When you step up to the challenge, you're going to take the beating of your life. Tell them, Bluegrass.
American Alpha. Not much alpha about them. There's a lot of American there, and I love everything that's American. But let me tell you, you've got to be alpha if you're going to be American Alpha. Let me describe to you what alpha is. First, look at my hair. Look at the new hairstyle, slicked back. I'm like a young Donald Trump in his prime. Look at the shoes. I've got J's on my feet, bitch. I just got back from a meeting with Jordan. They're about to fucking sponsor me. Nothing more alpha than that. You want to know what makes a man really alpha, though?
What's that?
What makes a man alpha is hearing the smooth sound of my voice. Every time a woman hears my voice, they get wet.
Woo!
With perspiration at the sound of the smoothness of my voice as it slows into the crevices of their ears. And do you want to know what else makes a man alpha?
What's that, Bluegrass?
What makes a man alpha is being on the best goddamn podcast in the world. And that podcast is none other than
The Main Event.
Under attack, always coming in last, bringing up the fast. No one owes you anything, I think. You need a shotgun blast, a kick in the ass, so paranoid. Watch your back!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 9 of the Main Event Podcast. Here I am again with my tag team partner,
Evan Wells. How's it going, ladies and gentlemen?
We have a chock-full podcast of a bunch of stuff off the top of our heads, along with another dreadful week in Raw history, and not Raw history, but wrestling's Raw, and a decent show on SmackDown.
Yes, it was an okay week, I guess, for wrestling. Still, trudging through Raw, I'm trying to figure out what they're going to be doing long term. SmackDown, though, has been pretty solid. There's a couple of gripes I have that we'll get into later in the show with some of their characters that they have. We also have Finn Balor, who came back at a house show in Buffalo. That was pretty exciting. We've got a little bit of SEC tournament news for you, a little bit of basketball. And we've got a couple of little featurettes with wrestling, some alternate universe possibilities that we would like to have seen. So, let's. You want to jump into Raw and SmackDown first?
No, let's jump into the beer first. Come on now. Listen, we have, what would you call this? It's from Sun King Brewery. It's Lupulin Astronaut. It's an Indian Pale Ale. I wanted to go with another IPA because last week's was so fucking horrible. It is, to give you an idea, Lupulin Astronaut is an Indian Pale Ale brewed in honor of those brave souls who remain dedicated to discovering new worlds of citrusy hop flavor. The official beer of Space Month. So it is a special brew out of Sun King Brewery. I've had several Sun King's beers and absolutely enjoy them. So when I was walking through the local liquor store this week, I come upon it and said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and snag it. What do you think, Evan?
You have picked out a good beer this time.
Yes, I have.
That is solid for an IPA. I'm going to talk more about the tasting in a second, but we've literally done IPAs
A lot.
a lot.
Yeah.
That's like but it's not a bad thing. I feel like IPAs are what you get into once you've been doing craft beer for a long time.
Yeah, well, there's just so many out there compared to everyone else. I feel like there's 4 IPAs to every stout. You know, you don't see Pilsners damn near at all. Me and you've already talked. We're not, though we will do it. We're not a huge fan of the shandies or the sour so much, though. I think next week we're probably going to have to go. Maybe that's what we do. Next week we'll go with a double, and we'll just go outside of the realm of what we normally do. Give the fans something to look forward to. I'm waiting for suggestions. To be quite honest,
we've had. Let's talk about the flavor, and I'll tell you about the one suggestion that I've gotten this week that I've already talked to you about that people have been telling us to do.
Yes.
But the flavor of lupulin, it's got your standard citrus flavor. Very very strong aftertaste at the end. I think it has like it has the hoppy, grainy aftertaste to it. Mm-hmm. It's definitely there. It's very prevalent. It wouldn't be an IPA that I would tell people to start off drinking if you're wanting to start doing IPAs. But it's very solid. It has a very strong citrus taste to it,
which I actually like. Sometimes it's hit or miss with the citrus.
Yeah, and it's light on the stomach too. It's not heavy. You know, a lot of times certain IPAs with the hop aftertaste that you get at the end, it can be kind of heavy on the stomach. This one is definitely not that way. I like it. I'm spoiled because of Broken Skull, but it's no Broken Skull, but it's definitely higher up there on some of the IPAs that I've had. I would definitely recommend it.
I would agree and concur on all things said about this beer. Now, I'll go ahead and introduce the other one we're talking about. Everyone, excuse me. I'll get it out, kids. Everyone in the tri-state area. This beer also
instantly makes you drunk.
Apparently. Yeah, we didn't even say what it was.
As far as the alcohol percentage goes, I don't even think
it's 100% alcohol.
It's a pint.
It's a pint of alcohol.
It doesn't have aren't they supposed to put the percentage on?
I don't know. Shit's gotten scary, thing. Kids. But listen, the other thing that we had the other day, which me and Evan have had many, many times before, but since it's the new kid on the block here in southern Indiana and in the tri-state,
it's your new domestic.
Yeah, it is your new domestic.
It's technically supposed to be a craft, I believe, but it's
not.
It's like Fat Tire now.
It's Yuengling, which we spoke about before. If I have to drink a domestic beer, I'd rather have a Yuengling over a Bud Light. I'd rather have a Yuengling over a Miller anytime. I'd rather drink dish soap than Coors Light. Nonetheless,
we had Coors Light at your Christmas party.
Yeah,
because I asked you.
Exactly.
You would drink dish soap for me. Is that what we're getting at here?
To play beer pong with, yes.
That is adorable.
Speaking of which, I'm going to go on a complete different tangent, okay?
Well, we haven't even done Yuengling yet.
No, trust me, it's worth it. It's to deal with the beer pong.
Fair.
All right, so we went out to Bob Walters today. My wife's work had this big event out there.
Oh, I know what you're going to talk about.
And Logan was running around. He was playing in this big old playground tube, the shit you used to see at McDonald's and Burger King back in the day. All the netting and all that crap they can run around.
There's only one McDonald's that has one of those now. It's in Henderson.
Well, see, there you go. Kids are spoiled. Instead of physical activity, they'll look at electronics.
Well, I mean, we have Beverage Barn and we have the playground at McDonald's. So kids in Henderson are pretty well set up.
Exactly. So what I'm getting at is I'm looking around because Jen's talking to a coworker, and I spot a game, and I'm like, I'm so totally going to get Logan tokens, and it's called Sink It. It's fucking beer pong, dude. I crushed that motherfucker. Because I'm stone cold sober. They give you 30 seconds and 30 ping pong balls. And I'm just boom, 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 just Drano. Just killing them. So I got him 100 tickets off of that, which was pretty tight.
Yeah, like it's literally teaching kids. Like it's the gateway drug to playing beer pong. Like you go to Walter's Golf and Fun, which is that on Diamond? No, what is that on?
Yeah, it's on.
Is it on
right
Diamond?
off of Diamond?
It's right off of
Diamond and First.
Yeah, so if you've never been there before, it's a fun place to take kids, even if you're an adult. They don't serve alcohol there, do they?
No, they don't serve alcohol, but man, they got indoor golf and they got the indoor laser tag, and there's a ton of games for them to play. I mean, it's a big enough facility. There's plenty to do. You can kill a couple hours if you want to. So
most definitely. But yeah, that's a fun place to go. I've seen that beer pong game before. That's why when you said it related to beer pong, I was like, okay, I know exactly what he's talking about.
All right, so back to Yingling, though. Back to Yingling. Go ahead.
So Yingling is like, for me, it's like a domestic to me. It's supposed to be like a craft brew made in Pennsylvania. I don't remember what exact area, but I've had Yingling for like 4 years now. Like I've been able to have it pretty much whenever, because when I used to work at Verizon Wireless, and the guy that bought out one of the stores that I worked at was from Pittsburgh. And they got Yingling all the time, and he used to bring it in, and like he would buy it by cases, and the worker, not at work, but he would treat
That's a lie. It was totally at work.
Yeah, I was slinging phones and drinking beer. That's how I moved up in the company. But anyways,
how much would everybody's job be better if you could just drink just a couple at work?
Well, I feel like at lunch you should be allowed to, as long as you stay under the legal limit.
Yeah, just two.
Yeah, like just have 2 beers. Get a little loose, and then you're good to go. I feel like that would make everyone's productivity that much better.
It sure makes some of that. Nope, I ain't going to go there.
Yeah, probably shouldn't. But anyways, Yingling it's decent. It's a big deal for Evansville, because there was a humongous outcry from the city to have Yingling brought here. I mean, you could get it in places like in Nashville, Tennessee, different areas like that. But for whatever reason, you couldn't get it in Evansville, Indiana, and people wanted it that bad that the company listened and literally brought it here.
And now it's on tap?
It's on tap just about everywhere you go. Zach and I went to Lamasco's. I went to Timeout. We went to Show Me's earlier. They've already got it on tap. It's a pretty big seller. Well, actually, when I went to Timeout last night, one of the taps they had was already out. Like, they literally have trouble keeping it in. So, good for Yingling and the company, and good for the city for having that now. I personally don't see why people are so up in arms over it, but the people have spoken, and that's what they want. So now you have it. It's not bad, but I mean, hell, guys, like there's so many better beers out there. But I mean, for your regular hardworking man that wants something other than his Coors Light and his Bud Light, I mean, Yingling is the way to go.
Absolutely. And they do have. We've been lucky enough to try some of the other Yinglings that they have. They have a Black and Tan. What was the other one they had?
I don't remember the other one. Black and Tan stood out because Black and Tan was legitimately good.
It was really good. A buddy of ours, Chris Cronin, some friends of his brought multiple flavors, if you will, down of Yingling, and he got to try those and invited us over, and we knocked them out. Hell, it was about 6 months ago, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it's been a while.
But they were really good. So, hey, lucky enough for the people who've been demanding it, that it's here. Good on you guys. It's something that if they don't have anything else, I will definitely drink. And I enjoy Yingling every now and then. It's definitely better draft than it is out of the can or bottle.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I guess it's because we're craft beer snobs that if I were to get upset and demand a beer, I would be going to El Segundo.
El
Segundo. Yeah, I can't even pronounce it, but El Segundo. I'd be asking those guys just to put Broken Skull on tap, but yeah, that's just me.
We ever start a place, there it is, bud.
Yeah.
So, speaking of which, we get into, you know what? Let's just dive into it. We're going to talk about some WrestleMania things, and the one big glaring object that we have, and come off of Raw this week, is you had Lesnar go in during Bill Goldberg's interview, promo, if you will, and Lesnar drops him with an F5, finally dumps him on his head and makes Goldberg look beatable for once. Kind of setting up what I've already said is going to happen, which is they're going to go into WrestleMania and Goldberg's going to drop the belt to Lesnar for Lesnar to regain the momentum because he ain't going to lose a third time to him. And Lesnar will be your Universal Champion and be back for a couple months, and then we'll drop it and fade away for a while. But the real thing is, and what we have decided we're going to do, as long as everyone else plays the game, is what is going to be the time length of the match. We all know that Goldberg from back in the day doesn't do long matches because he doesn't have the skill set. Now, Lesnar can go pillar to post for an awful long time because he's a fucking freak of nature. So, Evan, what is your over-under on the timeline?
Let's see. For the time, I think the match is going to go... I'm actually going to go a little bit higher than what the matches have been, and I'm only going to say this just because it's WrestleMania. I'm going to put, and you can put this down like on the dot, it's going to be 5 minutes and 18 seconds on the dot is how long that match will last with a Lesnar victory.
5:18 is what Evan is going. I'm going to say because it is a main event match and it's going to be WrestleMania, I'm reaching here.
Oh.
I'm going to reach I'm talking way, way far out there. Now, we're talking bell ring and legitimate wrestling.
Yeah, we should probably explain that as well. Like, once the bell rings, we don't care about like what happened on Fastlane.
Yeah. From the time the bell rings till the 1, 2, 3, and the new champion is crowned or the old champion retains. I'm gonna go 12 minutes.
12 minutes.
I'm gonna go 12 minutes.
You're a brave man.
I know I'm a brave man because I just think that they're gonna have to go at one another for a little bit and put on some sort of show. They're gonna put one of the two guys in danger, probably Lesnar in danger, to look like he's going to get his ass whipped yet again, and then maybe spins out and catches him with a German suplex and dumps him. And there's going to be, as in typical Raw storyline fashion, about 19 false finishes before Lesnar picks him up, F5s his ass, and then 1, 2, 3 for the belt. So I'm taking the 12 minutes as the high. I'll give you my low, though. Since we're
Are we doing two? Like you're gonna do a high and a low?
We'll do a high and a low.
Okay.
My professional opinion is no longer than 12 minutes. My under, I'm gonna say, is 5.5. 5.5.
I thought you were gonna do like 5:19, like some Family Feud shit.
No, it'd been 5. Yeah, 5:19 though. So 5.5 minutes, I think, would be my under, if you will. And for the fans out there, give us your idea how long that match is going to be.
Mm-hmm. Just give us one time. Don't give us two because then that's going to get real complicated. Like, well, I said it could be low as this or as high as that. Give us just one solid number. You think it's going to be 11 minutes, say 11 minutes. If you think it's going to be an hour-long match, then tell us it's going to be an hour long. What we're going to do, unless you specify otherwise, we're going to get, because the city loves Yingling so much, we're going to get you a 6-pack of Yingling for whoever wins. We will personally deliver it to your house unless you live fucking 6 hours away or some shit.
And we're going to do this. I'm going to add a little
spice to it.
Little spice to it. We'll give you a 6-pack of Yingling, and we're also going to give you a 6-pack of individual beers that me and Evan pick that we've liked, that we're going to put together, if you will, a beer basket for you to expand your repertoire of beer aficionado, if you will, which makes no sense on any of that, but to get it out there and try a little something different. So we would put, if you will, a beer starter kit for the novice craft beer guy or gal out there who's wanting to try.
Absolutely.
So initially, the closest time gets a 12-pack of beers, what it comes down to. 6 Yinglings and 6 individual beers that me and Evan are going to pick by hand. and we will deliver to you, let's say, within a 400-mile radius.
400-mile radius.
That'd be a good weekend. It'd be fair, because then if we have to travel that far, we're just gonna come up and drink with you one night, and we'll get shit faced with the main event and fucking head on back the next day and cut a podcast on what went wrong.
Pretty much. That does sound like a solid win. So if you are far out there, I know Zach's got a lot of Marine buddies and shit like that. I've got a few guys as well that live a little bit further away. Guys, hit us up. We'll come to you if we can make it possible. We're the main event. We are global, baby. You tell us where to go, we'll be there.
Absolutely. And if for some reason we can't travel to you, we'll figure out a way to get alcohol your way, because, hey, where there's a will, there's a way. Now, we've covered Lesnar, we've covered Goldberg. We're not going to touch that nastiness again.
We feel like everyone knows how that's going to go.
We go into the next subject, which kind of hurts my heart. Undertaker versus Roman Reigns. Evan, what's going to happen?
There are two things that could happen here. No matter what, I think Undertaker retires after this WrestleMania. My fear and what I think the WWE is going to do, which is the first avenue that we take, is that Roman Reigns comes out to wrestle Undertaker. I don't think it's going to be a super long match because, Undertaker's kind of old now. And I'm afraid that the WWE Universe is going to hate Reigns just a little bit more than they already do, which is hard to do, honestly. But I think Roman Reigns is going to beat Undertaker, retire him, and then everyone's just going to fucking hate him. The other avenue I see going on is an old-fashioned, just a legend beat down by The Undertaker. They can kind of make it a close match if they want to. And then Undertaker beats Reigns and then announces his retirement after WrestleMania. That's kind of how I see it going. It only goes two ways, but I am afraid that the way kind of Undertaker is now, the ring rust that he's got going on at his age and everything else, he's probably going to retire and get beat by Reigns. That's how I feel. I don't want it to happen, but, what do you think? That's just...
Well, so, here's the thing. I think that they still actually might bring in Braun Strowman. If they bring in Braun Strowman for a third person at a WrestleMania match, then I definitely believe that Undertaker is going to retire. Because, to me, that'll be the WWE signaling that he just can't carry a match on his own anymore by himself, just due to physicality. The man's hips are going. He's in bad shape over 20 frickin', almost 30 frickin' years of walking the frickin' high rope and dropping the big arm and power bombing, choke slamming, tombstoning, beating some of the biggest big men in the industry.
Yeah.
If not, I'm right there with you. My fears are the same, that they're going to pass off the buck to Roman Reigns. My issue with that is this. A couple years ago, you had Bray Wyatt versus The Undertaker.
Mm-hmm.
If you were going to retire him, why wouldn't you do it with a guy who is closer, not in gimmick, but just in kind of a genre, and look and feel, in the whole darkness aspect of it, the legitimate passing of the torch to the next creepy motherfucker on the roster, versus the still haven't changed his look Shield guy, who I don't know, I haven't seen him recently. Was he still in his goddamn high top Jordans?
I'm pretty sure he was.
See, that's fucking ridiculous. So he's the third part of the Uso brothers being G'd up from the feet up.
Hey man, when you get that sponsorship with Jordan, like I said, Legend of the Bluegrass has got it, baby. You got to rock it. I understand. Jay's on the feet, bitch.
There we go. So I'm not a big fan of what's happening now. As far as Raw and SmackDown went, goddamn Raw's a dumpster fire. Like, I feel like we've talked about the cruiserweights being on there before, even though they have their own show. There was 2 cruiserweight bouts this week on Raw. Why? Why is there a 205 Live in? Absorb them into Raw and don't give them a show. If we're going to see them so much, because there's not a ton of them, don't have 205 Live. Have a filler portion for SmackDown, or excuse me, for Raw, where that's where I get to see the cruiserweights. And then fucking move like the women's division to fucking SmackDown. I'm good with that.
The entire women's
The
division?
entire women's division, because you know what I want to see? I want to see Alexa Bliss versus Charlotte. I want to see Alexa Bliss and Becky Lynch taking on the Natalias, the Dana Brooks, the Nia Jaxes. Like, to me, because that division is so small, I'm not a huge fan of it being broken up, though the girls do great on both shows. But I'm tired of seeing this mixed mass bullshit when it comes to the 205 Live crew. So either leave them alone and leave them on their own fucking show, or quit continuing to just absorb more and more of them onto Monday Night Raw.
I want them to be on a separate show. 205 Live, I will give them where credit is due. It is new. They do have a good champion going on. Neville is definitely the highlight of that, which your champion should be. That's typically your favorite or best wrestler. So you have that going on, but it's just I'm with you, man. Like 205 Live sounds too much like SmackDown Live, which when they had the match, was it at SummerSlam to decide? It was at a pay-per-view where they had a match to decide which show was going to have the cruiserweight division on their show to boost their ratings. Like, is kind of why they did it. It still confuses me to this day because, okay, you've got a cruiserweight division on Raw where the same people who are on 205 Live will show up on Raw, and then again you go back and now we've got a show called 205 Live, which sounds an awful fucking lot like SmackDown Live. So what the fuck was the point in doing that?
I did hear some good news that apparently they are going to be having the United Kingdom belt eventually on its own show.
And that's another thing too, like to get away from the cruiserweights, because I think we've pretty much solidified that we like some of the cruiserweights, not all of them, but still just the way the show set up is fucking confusing. But with the United Kingdom belt, man, like it was fucked up having it on Next. It made it feel lesser than what it is. Like, if I were Tyler Bates, I'd be fucking pissed.
He's 19, so he's just happy to be there drawing a paycheck.
True,
But if I was the other British guys,
yeah,
you're goddamn right, I'd be pissed off.
You went through this big whole ordeal, which they did a phenomenal job with the with the United Kingdom division, and having that weekend tournament, which was great. But to not follow up with your own show right after that, like, that's fucking dropping the ball. And, William Regal, Triple H, the McMahons, whoever is in charge of that, I mean, come on. Seriously, how do you hype this up? And it was a big deal. Everybody loved it. It had a very big crowd reaction. Like, it's just awesome. It's something brand new that you haven't had before. The belt's awesome. The matches were great.
Yep.
And
you see
we're going to be on Next
every once in a while.
You want to tell me that you drew in all of these people just so that you can fucking put them on the D League, if you will, of wrestling? Like, that's what you want to fucking do?
Yep. That's
stupid. That is disrespectful to the wrestlers that put in the time for the United Kingdom Championship.
Absolutely.
And we've said it before too, that while they're not at the caliber yet of like a SmackDown or Raw roster, they're still better than Next.
Yeah, due to most guys, because they've been wrestling for years.
Yeah.
I mean, even Tyler Bates, the champion, young kid, 19 years old, that decided to throw the strap on. He was phenomenal, in the ring. And there's other guys, Trent Seven, the bruiserweight. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but those dudes, like, they're the charisma, the character, they're really bought into it. Like, it was great. So, yeah, I definitely have an issue with that. But, you know, it's unfortunate. I mean, it's just the way of the world, right? You know, you look at, we talk about it with the NFL. You know, like Thursday night football, it's fucking pointless. No one watches Thursday night football. The games are garbage.
It has the lowest ratings.
They need to get rid of it. You know, I mean, yes, are there your guys who will turn it on Thursday night to watch it because they don't want to watch fucking some reality TV bullshit? Yes. But I remember when it first come out, and it was great because you had big-time games, and now they're all snooze fests. It's the Browns versus the fucking Eagles, and who's going to suck the best, you know? And it's not even a porno championship. So
do they have those? Like, is that which?
I want to feel like in my world, in my universe, they would have one of those. I don't know if that's a real thing, but they had to bring the porn Olympics. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe we should have like a main event who sucks the best. Championship.
Yeah. And there will be rules and regulations, and guys do not apply.
Yeah. We'll have to find someone that's down with that if we're gonna. We probably should be fair, but no, we can't even do that because it has to be all women. You're right. I was trying to be, open-minded, but I can't.
Quit being fucking politically correct, douchebag.
I can't do it.
So
I tried,
but legitimately, Raw's got a lot to fucking desire. You know, it's kind of the older show. It's the older guys holding the belt. It's the older superstars that are on there. SmackDown.
Well, it's not so much the older guys holding the belt. KO's new, and he's had the belt most of the time that for Raw this year he's had the belt. But it is the older show, but it's the length of the show, what they're trying to do. And of course, Paul Heyman tried to protect the WWE's decision to have the Raw show be 3 hours long, because a lot of people complain, that they feel like they're just putting in filler matches and things like that, and whether Paul Heyman truly agrees with that or if he's doing it for a paycheck, man, I can just tell you there are a lot of reasons other than quote-unquote filler matches that why Raw should go back to being like an hour and a half like SmackDown.
No, I'm down with 2 hours. I think 2 hours is the perfect format, because it allows all your big stuff to get in. Listen, your mid-card guys need to be on your house shows unless you're trying to prove a point with something. But beating the hell out of them in a squash match or a debut or something like that as a stepping stone that we've talked about, like guys with Rusev and others. But as a whole, it needs to be brought down. The whole shit with Baron Corbin, even this week on SmackDown, which kind of threw me off, the whole Kurt Hawkins and Dean Ambrose. It just wasn't needed. Hawkins comes out and he calls out Ambrose, and Ambrose comes out, and Hawkins dashes out of the ring and goes for, a clothesline, and then instead gets his ass just handed to him. And then you go into the vignette of Baron Corbin being in the back and those two exchanging words, and Ambrose is like, I'm coming for you. And he dashes out of the ring, and Hawkins tries to get him again and ends up getting dropped on his head with the dirty deeds. It furthered the storyline between Corbin and him, but it also crushed Kurt Hawkins, who the WWE just brought back a couple months ago and has done nothing with, zilch, except for making him a squash kind of guy.
Yeah, the thing that bothers me with SmackDown the most, other than having Hawkins come back, is that you had, the main event of SmackDown was the AJ Styles Randy Orton match, which was a really good match. You have two great wrestlers in the ring.
Of course, it was a good match. Freaking AJ was in it.
Yeah, well, the phenomenal one. You can't go wrong with that. But we all kind of knew. Of course, Randy Orton did win the match, and we kind of knew that it was going to lead to that.
They went with the storyline instead of the best wrestling match is what they went with.
Yeah, and that's the thing though. That's where it gets difficult. Is they sometimes forget. I don't want to say maybe they forget, but they're not in tune with who's your best stars right now. And while Randy Orton and the Bray Wyatt situation has had its hype, and it is a good storyline. I do like it. It's one of the more interesting storylines that we've had of the year. I hate that with AJ, who's had the title most of the year, is they're just dumping him off the fight Shane McMahon, because you see after the match, like you see it on Facebook, you have AJ talk about, oh, is this what opportunity's like? Why am I getting stripped of being number one contender? When I won the Battle Royal and all this other shit, and now I've got to fight Randy Orton and lose. But it's just one of those. It's just one of those odd things where it feels like the WWE just went, well, we won AJ in WrestleMania. We don't really know what to do with him. Let's just throw him against the GM, and just so his name is on the card of WrestleMania. Like, there's not really. It feels forced upon you to have him against Shane McMahon.
And I would agree with you 100%. AJ needs to be legitimately in a top-tier match. And that's just it. That's what it comes down to. Top-tier match, the best that there is, and that's it. And he's not. He literally carried the company for freaking a year, pretty much, while Cena went and taped shitty movies and did other things. And AJ's a great competitor. People want to see it. Just like them taking their time bringing Samoa Joe up. And I love that they're labeling him the Destroyer, and he's coming in and he's just fucking beating the hell out of dudes, and he's rough. Here's what I'd like to see. At the end of the day, I want to see Bray Wyatt walk out of WrestleMania with the championship. Beat Randy Orton in the feud. He gets his double cross for everything that he did, and burning the shack down and destroying the image of Sister Abigail, or whatever the case may be. And at the next pay-per-view, I want him and AJ Styles in a legitimate match. Why? Because that match excites me. AJ is so explosive. Bray has such great technique. He can hit big-time moves that just stand out. Sister Abigail is a great finisher. It's nothing we've seen before. Just the things like that. So I want to see that match happen, and I want to see it happen sooner than later. Now, obviously you had Randy Orton and AJ go at the main event. You can have that down the road. You can have him going back and forth again and AJ getting the win. Orton's been around for a long time, and he's never changed. Until he went to the Wyatt family, he's never changed. He's been pretty much the same guy. Through evolution, they nicknamed him the Viper, but everything's still kind of there.
So I wouldn't even say that he's changed. I would say that he has been this character for a long time, which is a good character, but you also, what he's going to do. So you have him being the Viper, and his thing, even in Evolution, he sneaks in like a viper, like a snake, and he will basically destroy, the Wyatt family is pretty much no more. One, because of the brand split, and two, Randy Orton kind of finished that deal because he split up Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper.
Yeah.
But, he gets in there and he destroys those teams from the inside out like a viper, like a snake in the grass. But he has always been that character. Now, the problem with that, though, is he can be that character, but it's like wrestling is like a TV show. We've discussed before, we know it's not real, but neither are any of your TV shows like The Walking Dead that you watch on TV, because you're constantly developing a story. But it's like you have that character that is always the double-crossing, backstabbing son of a bitch that you have. You either love him or hate him, and those type of storylines do create excitement. But
because you're waiting for the turn.
You're waiting for the turn, and the turn is always exciting. We were waiting for the turn with Chris Jericho and KO. We were waiting for the turn with Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt. Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt, we especially knew was going to happen. Jericho and KO, you could have made an argument that it wasn't going to be that way. But you look at it, and when you're developing that story in a TV series, you would think that the characters, which don't change all that often, you would think they would kind of smarten up and realize, well, if Randy Orton's trying to join the family, we know that he's going to double-cross me. So either Bray Wyatt needs to have a fucking contingency plan in case that happens, because you can't just be surprised. It's like, well, Randy Orton's done this his entire career. Okay, join the Wyatt family, but in the back of his mind, he could be talking to the other members of the Wyatt family and be like, hey, if he double-crosses us, this is what we're going to do instead. And it's kind of its old song and dance. He was going to do it. We all knew he was going to do it. It's always exciting to see the turn, but it would be nice maybe if Randy Orton he doesn't have to stick with the Wyatt family, but next time they do something like this, make him actually stick with it, or make him be the one to get betrayed next time.
True. And I like that idea because he is always the betrayer. So that's kind of what we've been thinking. There's a lot of things, developing, and there's more. The shows week in and week out are what they are. SmackDown's definitely the stronger. I still love watching Next because you have the Bobby Roode factor. You have Shinsuke Nakamura, who came back this week against, again, makes no sense, TJ fucking Perkins from 205 Live fame, former Cruiserweight champion, comes down to Next to fight Shinsuke Nakamura and get his ass whipped. It was actually a really good match. It was a high-speed match. TJ Perkins, worked Shinsuke's knee. Shinsuke sold it great and finished him off with the Kinshasa. Great match. I enjoyed that part of it. You had, you had the glorious Bobby Roode, the current Next champion, cut a pretty goddamn good promo. The women got out there and fought the old Royce Payton and Billy Kay bullshit again. So there's stuff there, but and I did enjoy it.
Do you know what I think they're going to do with Shinsuke? I think they're going to put him on 205 Live.
No, I believe after WrestleMania he's gonna move up to Raw. The roster,
so?
Yeah, they need more. They need more star power. They're gonna move him up, and he's gonna go.
Samoa Joe up there.
Yeah, and they've already had epic battles next. Now put that on Raw, or put that in a SmackDown. Put Shinsuke in title contention, or Joe with the title. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of ways you could go to give it a bigger feel, because people want to see that match again. I want to see Shinsuke and Joe go again because they were that good. It was that believable, which leads us into our next subject.
Okay.
What is, whether, and people would want to hear your examples of this, please tell us, email us, Facebook us, whatever the case may be. What is the realest match or maneuver that you've ever seen performed that you thought there was no fucking way, one, that guy didn't get truly hurt, or that shit wasn't real? Evan, what do you have?
Mine is the one, I told you while we were lifting this week. Cactus Jack versus Randy Orton. I forget the type of match it was. It wasn't in a cage or anything like that, but it was no DQ, use weapons, whatever you want to. The most gruesome scene from that was Cactus Jack had some thumbtacks. He was just dumped in a big old box of thumbtacks, and he had some on his back and whatnot. And it was pretty gruesome to see. And I thought that was kind of badass enough as it was. Where it got worse though was they were wrestling, and Randy Orton takes the thumbtacks and spreads them all over the ring. And then he's wrestling Cactus Jack, and the next thing I know, he gets flipped onto just a whole fucking pile of thumbtacks. And dude, it was horrible. He fell on there, and then, the wrestlers, they land on their back and they start to roll and whatnot. He was rolling, and just tacks just going all over his body, on his face. That's something that you can't fake. You can't gimmick your way out of.
What, you mean you don't like quarter-inch steel going through your back?
Yeah, that's just
spinal cord, eyes.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. He would get up and they were on his face, near his eye. I mean, it was gruesome. Like, I look at it, and, you know, like, one thumbtack going in you, okay, like, it's not a big deal. But just imagine, just your whole body covered in thumbtacks, having to start pulling those bitches out or continuing the match, which they did, and just having those bitches just come out as they do. That's gruesome. It was one of the worst things I've ever seen.
And I'm going to speak on two parts here. And one of them involves Cactus Jack. Or, well, Mankind at the time. Same guy, Mick Foley. And the other involves Ken Shamrock. But the intertwining, what's the word I'm looking for? The common thread here is The Rock. And The Rock had a portion where him and Mankind had a empty arena match. And I'm talking, dude, he was throwing him down flights of stairs. At one point, I believe he had him handcuffed and I think he hit him legitimately in the head like 20 some odd times with a chair, unprotected. Like, it was headshots. Mm-hmm. And back in the day, they allowed that. Now, if you'll watch and you're a fan, you'll see they'll throw their hand up and they'll freaking, you know, catch it and grab, you know, try to absorb as much as they can with, you know, with their forearm and not allow an actual legitimate headshot. Back in the day, wasn't the case. And that was the same thing with Ken Shamrock. I watched Rock and he even did it on a promo the next week. Tee off on him like he was fucking Babe Ruth, dude. And it wasn't to the side. Like, it was like straight over the top of the head. Just boom, dink, and just drilled his ass. And it was one of those where it was cringeworthy because you knew, even as a young man at that time and a wrestling fan, I knew that they were not protecting themselves and they were taking real fucking shots. Because I don't know about you, if you ever seen a folding chair, but that shit don't bend easy unless there's force put behind it.
No, I mean, matches like that, even when they do protect themselves, like, that shit doesn't just buff out, homie. Like, you don't just get hit with one of those chairs, whether it's a match or not, and you're just like, oh, you know, I'm good, hit me again. Like, that shit doesn't work. You know, they do damage to their body every time they go in the ring, and they have matches like that, which is why they're so few far in between now, except for, you know, the TLC pay-per-view. Yeah. But,
well, it's to protect guys.
Yeah.
But you also have, you know, and I've seen a lot of matches. You look back in the day, and I can speak on this because my mother used to tell me. So Evansville, for those people who don't know, we actually come from a hotbed of pro wrestling. Because back in the day, in the territory days, in Memphis Pro South, which was Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee and those guys and the Jarretts, and just a lot of organizations, they came from Louisville or out of Tennessee and other parts of Kentucky, and they would come and they'd play stadiums here in Evansville. And Evansville was a hotbed. You can listen to Stone Cold's podcast. He talks about coming to Evansville and wrestling back in his early days. We're talking late 80s, early 90s, that this was a normal thing, that your who's who, like my mom has the good old, what are the pictures, I can't think of. Polaroids yeah. Of Ric Flair and Andre the Giant and guys like that she was, you know, feet from. So, you know, people talk about wrestling being fake. She was there one night in the sand. She's told me this story before. And Ric Flair was wrestling that night, you know, current NWA champion. Which is a huge thing to be thinking about in a little Evansville, Indiana, especially back then. And it was a one-on-one match, and this guy out of the crowd jumps up, gets on the ringside, and tries to take a swing at Flair and is heckling him, right? So they pull him off, and they get him back in the crowd. No harm, no foul. You know, it's back in the day. They're a little bit more lenient. Well, he tries again, and apparently he connects with Flair. And then Flair decides to lay this motherfucker out. Like, he's just fucking boom, boom, boom. You know, just like the gloves were off. You know, oh, you want to think it's fake? Here, bitch. You know, and that's one thing. Flair, in all the stories I've heard, was a guardian of the kayfabe. Like, as much as a wild man and a drinking man and, you know, the limousine ride and kiss stealing, wheeling dealing son of a gun. Like, if you walked up to Flair, you know, in his prime and said, oh, what you're doing is fake, he'd fuck you up like a drop of the hat. He just like, is that fake, motherfucker? You have your ass in the figure four tapping out, you know, which is awesome because you knew also in the ring, and you've seen it with certain guys, you know, your Stone Colds, your others, every once in a while, me and you've done it watching pay-per-views where you see a shot where you know one of those wrestlers is legitimately laying something in on a guy like, hey, motherfucker, you know, you hit me like that again and I'm going to goddamn kill your ass. And you're just like, oh, God. You know, there's strong style and then there's, I just laid a good solid shot to your jaw. I'm telling you, you ever suplex me like that again without telling me, I'm going to kill you. Which is always interesting to me.
Well, and you have to think, too, like, it's a job for these guys, and it's like with the whole, the rumors and debates with Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar last time they met up. It was...
Let's rewind. Tell them what happened.
So, and it was on Twitter or some social media, basically... Randy Orton was bashing on Lesnar for, was it steroid abuse?
Yeah, for steroid abuse.
For steroid abuse. And was calling him out on it on social media, which is professionally, one, that's a no-no, and two, like, you don't talk shit to Brock Lesnar.
Well, and the fact that Orton is not a poster child of the whole the PED and illegal drug usage, because he's been suspended multiple times from the WWE.
He's not only been suspended, but he was kicked out of the Marines for that as well.
Yes, he was, which makes him my least favorite wrestler.
Yeah, so you have that going on, so he's no poster child for, a clean, straight edge kid. And
it's Jinder Mahal.
Yeah. Yeah. Some gyno going on real bad. But they go out there, it wasn't SummerSlam, it was one or two pay-per-views after that.
Yeah, I mean, it was close to around.
It was around SummerSlam, and it was a short match. They were supposed to just have a squash match together as the main event, and Lesnar goes out there, F5s him, and then gets down and has him by the back of the neck, and Orton is down, and it was supposed to just be like an old beat down and Lesnar walk off. Lesnar didn't walk off. Like, it was legit.
He was throwing real elbows.
He threw MMA, UFC heavyweight champion, elbows, fist.
Because he took off his gloves. And you've seen it. And the picture afterwards on Twitter was great, because it was like an 1.5 inch, 2 inch split. Like, Lesnar didn't bust him open. Lesnar tried to scalp his fucking ass. Yeah,
Lesnar was not playing. Like, when the boys tried to keep those hits kind of clean, like, Lesnar wasn't trying to do that. And even when Lesnar walked off, what was it? Was it Jericho that was
Jericho
in the back?
Tried to fight him in the back.
In the back, Jericho asked the GM, he's like, is this personal or is this part of your deal? And the GM just didn't even respond. So Jericho knew at that point that, oh shit, like, he's really trying to hurt Randy. So when he came back, Jericho got in his face, and Jericho's a little bit older and not as big as Lesnar is, and tried to go toe-to-toe with him after the match. Like, that's how real this stuff is, and people forget that there's a lot of things that go on in the back that people do that is real. There are sometimes, like Zach said, during matches where, like, they'll clock a guy for real to let him know, that shit you were saying backstage, like, we can handle this right here in front of everyone if you want. Like, they don't play no games, homie.
Yeah, that shit don't fly.
So, for all the naysayers that always say it isn't real, of course it's not real, but it's like a TV show, and it's like a sports team almost, if you will. Like, they have debacles and whatnot, and that's one of those things, but at least they're not like Kyrie Irving, who's a fucking dumb motherfucker and thinks that the earth is fucking flat.
The earth is flat.
But that's what you get when you have a Duke education. So,
wowza.
Talking about college, though, good old Kentucky Wildcats secured their 30th SEC title championship.
I believe they should be investigated.
I'm sure
30 is a huge number.
Yeah, well, we have 30 championships in the SEC, and the next one, I think, is the Razorbacks, who they played against, and they have 6. That's the next highest number of championships. So, for the fucktards, especially for whatever Gator fans we have in Indiana, for whatever god-awful reason, that think that the Gators are all that, how many championships do you have under the SEC? You have 3.
And we're talking basketball, not football.
Yeah, we're talking basketball. We're garbage in football. I know that. But
that's kind of how you have it. You're one sport dominant team.
Yeah. And you just either you're decent at the other, where you occasionally get championships, or you're just great at one and not great at the other, which is how UK is. So yeah, UK's got that going on for them. Brackets are out now, aren't they?
Yeah. So we had an early debate when we talked about it of what is more exciting, NFL free agency or college basketball and the tourney coming up, because all this week you had the NFL free agency, you had big moves like Brandon Marshall going to the Giants,
Traitor.
Brock Osweiler going to the Browns, just different shit like that we've had, some big moves. My Chicago Bears completely destroying next season and getting a backup quarterback as their starter, and Mike Glennon, just shit like that. A lot of moves, a lot of stuff. The Patriots getting even stronger in the wide receiver position and getting Brian Cook. Why the fucking Saints would give them away, I don't know. But, I mean, it's just... So, there's so much... The NFL does such a good job at staying relevant throughout the whole year. Especially with beating women, because there's a lot of those guys that like to do that. There was another douchebag, I think it was off of Miami or Houston anyways. What the fuck is the deal with pro athletes and beating women?
Why don't...
Be like a normal man. Don't do that shit.
Yeah, the Cowboys especially, they have several people that do that. Like the whole Greg Hardy thing, man. That fucking... Like, why is it that teams, and Zach and I both, we think that if you're a man that wants to go around and beat women, that... we both swear, if we ever meet you, I don't give a fuck if you're fucking, an NFL superstar or not. I'll beat your ass. I don't give a fuck. Because you don't do that to women. Women are beautiful, wonderful, kind-hearted creatures.
And even if they're this feminist fucking super ginormous man lesbo kind of thing and they're in your face, have the nuts enough to walk off. Even if they... Listen, it's one thing if the bitch throws a fucking hand at you, pops you in the face, but you're a goddamn man. I hate to break it to you. I've yet to meet, and this is not bragging, it's just how I am. I've yet to meet a woman who's as big as I am and matches me size and strength-wise, which means I should never lay my hands, ever, no matter the situation, unless it's protecting my own life, on a woman. So when I see these douchebag athletes that are slapping around some side piece that they fucking picked up, because that's all these women are, because they generally cling on to them after the money, but that's what gives these men the idea that thinks that they can just slap them around. It's bullshit. You should be banned, literally. I don't give a fuck what sport you're in. I don't give a fuck if it is professional croquet. If you fucking get a goddamn charged with felony or with domestic abuse, you're done. You don't get to come back in the league. You don't get to take another at-bat, another free throw, catch another touchdown. Fuck you. You are done, douchebag. Why? Because you couldn't conduct yourself as a goddamn human being for once. Fuck you.
You should be banned from everything. Your sponsors should drop you, and no one should be protecting you. Fucking old... what's the owner's name of the Cowboys? I forget.
Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones. Thank you. Fucking Jerry Jones. That dickhead especially. When the Greg Hardy thing happened, he fucking defended him or would blow it off or just leave it be as is. I get that there are women out there that try to come after the man for money and do whatever. There are those things that happen. But it's on the same side of the fucking coin, too. When you fucking beat a woman, it's obvious.
The Ray Rice shit, right?
Ray Rice.
That wasn't the first... My mom said... We were having that talk actually, it was last night after dinner. That was not the first time he'd ever put his hands on her.
No.
Because, dude, he co-cocked her like he'd been doing it his whole life.
And they had fucking... The team had evidence of it way before. And they had just hit it. People shouldn't like their teams. If the Jets, if there were a star of the Jets, which we really really don't have anything right now. But
Well, Darrell Rivas just got fired for beating two assholes for starting shit with him.
no, that's
And I don't believe in them dropping him for that either.
well, yeah, we can talk about that too if you want. That's a little different for the situation that he was in, but fucking like if the Jets were to do that and say like, let's just say hypothetically in an alternate universe, Tom Brady was quarterback of the Jets and was winning us titles, and then all of a sudden we found out that he's been beating his wife for years. And the GM and everyone else covered it up and just let it go as it was, I would no longer be a fan of the Jets. I would go find a different team, watch some other teams, see who I like, and go from there. But you can't, like, when you buy tickets and you wear the apparel and you buy the hats of the Dallas Cowboys, you're fucking, like, you're supporting them allowing their players to beat women and think that that's okay, and it's fucking not. It's the same thing with the Ravens especially, because they really tried to hide that shit for years.
Well, I mean, they covered up a murder.
They covered up a murder, and then you've got a fucking woman beater. I would almost go so far, I don't like it that much. Like, the Ravens shouldn't even be a goddamn team because it was years, man.
Yeah.
It was like 3 years of just, Ray Rice is beating his wife again. We'll just sweep this video underneath my desk here and not talk about it. Like, fuck you. Like, fucking get out of town. Just go. Send Lesnar in there to start breaking skulls.
Exactly. I like that idea. Just send a couple fucking bruisers in there, start beating the fuck out of people.
Yeah.
So, we're going to get off of wrestling. We're going to get off of sports for a minute. Evan, name a character or show that as a kid was influential to you, that changed your life in a sense.
That legitimately changed my life.
Yeah, that you just absolutely loved. You mean, whether I could name several, but for me, Saturday mornings, boom, my ass is parked in front of the TV. Everybody had that show. Some people, used to be, it was TGI, thank God it's Friday. And, man, you didn't want to leave the house because the Friday television from, like, 7 o'clock on was just gold. They had so many comedies. We don't have that nowadays. But, there's just different things. What was the show that made you you?
Okay, that's kind of it's almost a loaded question for me because there were several different shows. I think one that I'm going to have to go with, and this is going back when I was 10 years old. I still, because there's a new series of this show now that I occasionally watch if I get the time to and I'm bored. You remember the cartoon Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah. It was on Cartoon Network. That's when I started watching it.
Yeah, it was on Cartoon Network. It's actually, for those of you that don't know, which I'd be surprised if you haven't at least heard of it, it's a Japanese anime is what they call it. And it would start out as a comic book in Japan back in the 80s. It was super popular, and they eventually brought it over to the U.S. Something that I liked about that show as a kid, and there wasn't really a specific character, but there was this underlying theme that you could apply, that there was always someone out there that was stronger than you, or that was better than you, and you always had to work yourself to become stronger. Like the main character, his name is Goku. Like when the series starts off, like his brother Raditz shows up on Earth, and he finds out, well, I'm not really a human being. He's this alien, which is called a Saiyan, and they're like this warrior race of people. And all throughout the show, like Goku fights these different villains, or he and his group of friends. Like there's the Prince of the Saiyans who survived their planet exploding. His name's Vegeta, and they kind of have like this constant back and forth of becoming stronger. And Vegeta, who is morally bad at the beginning of the show, towards the end kind of aligns himself with being a good guy like Goku. But throughout the entire show, there's always these villains that come from faraway places or different planets and things like that that come to Earth to try to destroy it. And Goku's always trying to stop them. So it kind of, when I was a kid, you know, I was big into sports and things like that, and you always had, you know, like in sports, there's always someone better than you, someone that you don't know that is stronger, more athletic, more intelligent. Like, no matter what you would apply it to in life, it basically told you that the human nature that you should have is to always to continue to better yourself. And that's something that was empowering to learn at a young age, because just as Goku had become stronger to fight off these villains from different universes, me as a kid, like with school, I wrestled in high school, I played soccer, I was on a traveling team with soccer for a long time, especially with school, like, you know, became more intelligent, being social and being a good person. It taught you with adversity, when that comes, to be stronger than that adversity, to overcome it. And Goku always had this thing too, where when he would fight like this new bad guy, he was always excited. Like most people, they get, you know, when adversity comes their way, they get down in the dumps and they're like, oh, I can't do it, or this is just too hard. He was always like, oh yeah, like, this dude's 100 times stronger than me, but I'm going to find a way to beat him. I'm going to find a way to overcome it. Like as a kid, like when you teach yourself that and you evolve that, of course, you know, it's a cartoon, it's a TV show,
sure,
but it had that underlying moral to always overcome your adversity and keep yourself humble by knowing that there's always something or someone that could be better than you. So make yourself better, so when that time comes, you are at that level or above it.
Absolutely. For me, it was by far, I'll go twofold here. I had the X-Men, the early 90s, which I own every episode. I bought it when I came back from Iraq the second time. I found there was a British television company that owned the rights to it all, and I got them all on DVD. If you ever want to watch, they're fucking excellent.
Oh, the X-Men stuff?
Yes, the early 90s. It was
on Netflix for a long time. I watched it.
No. We're talking like 1990 to like 93, 94.
No, like where it had like the old Wolverine that had the yellow, blue, and black costume, and the thing.
I never knew it to be on there. I know they've done a lot of remakes of X-Men.
Well, let me rephrase. When I say Netflix now, I'm talking about my Fire Stick that happens to magically have everything on it.
I got you. So, anyways, the series was great. It was actually based out of the comic books. My Uncle Lance, God bless him, got me in the comics, and I had read... Dude, I read pretty much from the 60s up into the mid-90s of X-Men comics. So watching that TV show, it was so great to kind of see him come alive. And just, it was so good. It was definitely not even really a kid show. It was almost that preteen to adult with the messages and everything they sent. But it was so damn good. And, you know, I could relate to some of the characters, and it made you go through things. And the same thing being said about the 90s version of the animated series for Batman. It was fucking excellent. By far the best one they've done. Very dark, very brooding. You know, all the bad guys there. The square-jawed, you know. But it was something about the artwork, too, and you know, the cartoon work that really made it. And then there's the nostalgia. You know, you're a kid. I enjoyed the shit out of both of those shows, just as far as the cartoon aspect. When you want to talk about a character, dude, I was raised off of John Wayne. You know, like when I spent the weekends with my grandpa, that's what we watched. We watched westerns. Mm-hmm. So I was raised off of the Duke. You know, if you're gonna be dumb, you better be tough. You know, I ain't gonna hit you. No, I ain't gonna hit you. The hell I ain't. You know, that kind of guy where. I don't much like quitters, son. And you've seen, you know, and he was very much that way in real life, too. But, you know, John Wayne was a huge patriot, a lover of all things American, a devout Republican. and for those who like to bring in the political aspect, he had, I think he had 2 or 3 different Mexican wives. So
Yes.
you can suck on that dick, and we'll just keep it vague there. But like, just a lover of all things. So for me, John Wayne, even though I was, we're talking 90s and John had been gone a long time by then, it was just to see him act in the McClintock and True Grit and Rooster Cogburn movies, that I would sit there with my grandfather and I'd equate the different things that he did. It was huge to me. It's he was a hero, always doing right, never doing wrong, and the good guy always wins, and that makes a big difference. I don't think you see that as much anymore. You don't have that. I think we're too plugged into people. We're too tied into stuff, because you can pick up social media and see. We talked about it a couple months ago.
Yeah.
With The Rock. Now, I've been a fan of The Rock since I've been a young man. I watched his whole career. I love Dwayne Johnson, but he really fucking stuck his foot in his mouth with me a couple months ago, trying to take a political stand.
Under Armour.
Yeah, the Under Armour political stand that actually wasn't even there. And it pissed me off. And my thought process was just, shut the fuck up. like you have no business talking about nothing. No one gives a fuck about your political opinion. It didn't change mine. You are a millionaire 100 times over. You don't know about the fucking struggle of what the everyday man like us does. Shut your fucking mouth.
Well, here's the deal: is that some of these people know struggle and some of them don't. Life is 100% about how you handle adversity. Not trying to go back to my DBZ reference, but that's how life is. Like The Rock, when he made the big decision, he could have been an NFL superstar, but he decided, he wanted to do wrestling, and he asked his father to train him to do wrestling. He was cut from was it high school football team or was it in college? I think it might have been in college.
He did get suspended in college because his grades were real low because he had a neck injury, and he didn't get drafted in the NFL. He actually went because he played for the Miami Hurricanes. He went into the CFL and was pretty much poor and living with nothing, and then that's when he decided to get into the family business. But
he had adversity with college, not college, but with football, and with being poor and things like that, to where he made the decision to do wrestling, which obviously worked out great for him because he's one of the most iconic superstars you have, both in movies and in the wrestling universe. But they have that struggle and they know it, but sometimes that's what ruins our favorite stars, like even Michael Jordan, who's the GOAT when it comes to basketball. He might not have the most points in a game of all time or things like that, but MJ always rose to the occasion. He's 6-0 in playoffs. He's never been to a Game 7, never had to. He always, no matter what it took, he stood up when there was no way to win, and he found a way. But, at the same time, MJ had really bad gambling problems, had all sorts of different stuff. And our superstars, even with The Rock, with him starting to go uber political, it ruins those dreams a little bit of that person, because you look at him and you're like, man, this guy is the great, but then it can ruin the image.
It doesn't, it lets you know that everyone has flaws, and you got to look at the world that way. When we really want to look at the world and want to see heroes,
right?
Everybody wants to see that guy who's the if you will, the John Cena's of the world, even though he has his past, but it's a little bit more, secluded. Want to see guys who they only do good and they do good for others. Everybody wants someone to look up to, and for me, that's where you have to learn how to forgive flaws and understand. And I don't look at celebrities and athletes and stuff like that, and I would never tell children to do that either, to look at them as heroes or figures you should model yourself. Because generally, not everybody, but generally, you probably have one standing there. A man who provides and works for his family and busts his ass day in and day out to give his kids or his wife give, it's both ways. Mom and dad work their butts off to give their kids and their family everything they deserve. Like that to me means something. When you help someone not out of necessity, but they're going through a hard time, and even though you may not have it, you help them. That's someone who deserves praise and is a hero. When you're willing to just pick up a stranger off the street and give them, whatever the case may be. And what I mean by that is not like literally picking someone off the street, but you work with someone and you're helping them out.
You just pick them up.
You just lift them up gently and carry them where they need to go.
It's like Titanic. You hold them up over your head. They spread their arms out.
Wait a minute, that's Bodyguard.
Whitney Houston dusts off her coked up nose from the grave and starts singing.
We'll always love you.
Because it's not too soon for that joke now.
No, she's been dead a bit. Cocaine, heroin.
You want some cocaine?
She did.
So does T-Rex. If you haven't seen that video, go to YouTube and just type in cocaine T-Rex. Look for the longest version. It's like 15 minutes long. You will be in tears by the end of it. It is a great little comedy skit.
Absolutely. But mainly, don't rely on your heroes. If you're looking at someone that think that they're going to be, and they do the best things in life, you're wrong. Look into yourself.
I don't think it's such a bad thing to look at heroes, or to look at certain athletes and see the good things they did. Like I would say that MJ is a hero to me for the good things that he did. Like I said, anytime adversity came around, he found a way to win. But I think you need to recognize the bad things that they did. Like MJ was a gambling addict. Like he was real bad about that.
They all have flaws.
Everyone has flaws. I think it's just best to look at, if you're going to look at athletes especially, to look at the good things they do and model the good things, but don't forget the flaws and learn from their mistakes. That's my takeaway.
Absolutely.
And, always, I don't know, just be a good person, Come out of retirement and fight Conor McGregor, by the way, Floyd Mayweather. He had a video. Did you see the video on Facebook this week?
No.
So Floyd Mayweather, I think it was last night, it may have been. It's a legitimate video, came out and told Conor McGregor to speak with the UFC. He gathered a bunch of people, a lot of press to do it, and said, hey, I'm Floyd Mayweather. It's like I'm coming out of retirement to fight Conor McGregor. All Conor needs to do is to sign paperwork to the UFC to let them do a cross match between the boxing world and the UFC world. And he said he will fight him in June. He is ready to do so. No one knows if it's going to be a boxing match or if it's going to be just a stand-up match where you can do kicks, I guess kickboxing, if you will.
There's no way that Floyd Mayweather is going to get in a match and allow McGregor to throw anything but hands. Because let's just say it's a kickboxing match, McGregor will kill him. Because if I'm Conor McGregor and I'm as trained as I am, I'm going to evade, wait for him to throw some type of jab, and then I'm going to head kick that motherfucker into the third row somewhere and then piss on his fucking dead body. There is no goddamn way that fucking Floyd Mayweather is going to step into the ring with Conor McGregor unless it is a sanctioned boxing match. And if I'm McGregor, I'm going to pull some old school shit, and the moment I can get my hands on him, I'm going to suplex his ass, and then I'm going to throw it in disarray. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm going to be dirty.
McGregor, if it's just a straight boxing match, Mayweather will beat him.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Have you seen the training videos of when McGregor tried to train for boxing?
Well,
Well, have you seen the video of it?
Yeah, I've seen stuff. The speed's not there because he's not focused just on striking. He's a mixed martial artist where he has fast hands. He can do plenty of stuff. But when you're talking about a Floyd Mayweather who's been training boxing for 20 plus years, get out of here. The hands are going to be vastly different.
Well, the thing is, man, is that when he was sparring, his trainer destroyed. Like, I'm not used to watching Conor McGregor except on the rare occasion that he gets beat. I am not used to him just getting demolished, and like it was, they were just doing a regular sparring match, and his trainer just destroyed him. Like there was no. Like, McGregor didn't even put up a fight. It looked like I could have... Like, it looked like he was that bad that I could have gone out there and boxed McGregor, which is not true. Definitely couldn't have happened in real life. But it looked that piss poor. I was like, if he's going to box Mayweather, like, he's fucking done.
But, dude, there's so much strategy and everything put into that. It might have been one of those, especially because Conor's a smart motherfucker, that he said, hey... Listen, we're going to do this, and we're just going to let it out because I'm going to get $100 million payday out of this. So we're going to put it out there, and we're going to make Floyd think that he's going to have a walk in the park. Even if it's a 10-round fight, he's just going to dance around me and take shots and make me look foolish. And then Floyd steps in the ring, and Conor goes, dut, and hits him 3 times, and Floyd goes, oh, oops.
So you think he was just doing it just to bullshit?
Why wouldn't you? There's too much money on the line. Why would you let, if you were in his camp, why would you let that video get out unless it was to make money? Look, he's not that good. Blah, 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 blah. Sign the fight. It's an easy fight for Floyd Mayweather. And then Conor gets in there and goes, duck, duck, thud, and hits him real hard and goes, oh, you thought I was going to lay down? No, dude. Now, here's the disadvantage of this. If you're going into anything past 6 rounds, Mayweather's got him.
Yeah.
Mayweather, if you go past 6, Mayweather's going to win hands down.
Well, it's because he's a defensive fighter.
Well, it's not just that. In MMA, it's a 25-minute fight. Though it equates to be about the same, because I think it's 2-minute rounds, or 2 or 3 minute rounds for boxing. I think it's 2. It's 2-minute rounds. And there's 12 rounds.
Right.
So, 24 minutes initially, but it's different in that sense. I think if it goes past 6, that, Mayweather has the advantage. So, if I was Conor and I was his camp, I would say, let's make it look like we can't fucking box worth a lick. Hope to get in there because, dude, here's the thing. Conor has nothing to lose, right? So he's 0-1 in his boxing career. He made $100 million. He still has his UFC belt.
Sure, but here's the deal: is that there are 2 things, and with me, like I'm a competitive person, and like Conor McGregor is the same way. He talks the talk and he walks the walk. Mm-hmm. Always has. I don't think McGregor would stoop to, like, I feel like that's stooping low to say, let's fuck with this guy and put this video out, me looking like I'm shit. McGregor wants to challenge people that are going to oppose him. Like, McGregor is a competitor. He wants to be the best. He wouldn't attempt to fight Mayweather and just to fuck with him, just be like, I want to look like shit. I think he's big enough of a competitor that he would want Mayweather to know, like, hey, this is, like, what I can do. Like, I'm a fucking badass. Like, come at me. I don't think he wants to hide anything from Mayweather. No. Now, Mayweather, I could kind of see that because he's always been kind of that, he's a great boxer. He plays the game right within the rules. He's defensive. He kind of sits back and he wins the scorecard typically. He doesn't have a whole lot of knockouts. But, I just don't feel like that this is a... I don't feel like this is a thing where McGregor was, like, trying to fuck with him, make himself look less than what he is, because that, to me, tarnishes who you are as a competitor. On the subject of stamina, while the UFC, even in a title match, does not go as long as 12 rounds in boxing, it's still, like, rolling around
It's much more difficult.
It's much more difficult. There's a lot more stamina involved than it is with boxing, and that doesn't say that boxing isn't very heavy on the stamina. It definitely is. Boxing is also one of the most difficult and intellectual sports that you have, but it's not. I think it equates the same. I think stamina-wise, whether it's MMA or boxing, 12 rounds versus a 5-round championship, I think it's on the same level. That's where I stand on it. I don't know.
Well, tell you what, we've covered a lot this week, have we not?
A
lot of wrestling, a lot of fighting, a little bit of sports.
Yeah, we little fun excitement we got going on, I guess, in our lives. Are we going to sign up for the pit tomorrow? Is that a thing?
I believe we might. We might.
Believe we might.
We're going to up the lifting game. I have everything in the basement, but we're wanting a little bit more. I'm going to get my ass chewed by my wife because you just mentioned that.
Do you want me? I can delete this.
No.
If you want me to.
It doesn't matter. I'm going to get chewed out for spending money.
I'll delete it.
It's okay.
She'll never know.
I just bought her a brand new vehicle, and it's really nice. Motherfuckers fly as fuck.
For real, like that car, I have to talk about it for a second. That shit fucking, it blows air into your asshole.
So my wife was needing a new vehicle. Her car was 10 years old. It was time to upgrade. We got baby number 2 coming on the way. And I really wanted to get her something nice. And I really wanted to make sure that she and my children are protected if the inevitable bad shit ever happens.
I really think if someone hit that car, that the car would be fine, but whoever hits it just dies on impact.
I hope so, because that's what I'm paying for. So we bought a Toyota 4Runner.
It's got rockets.
And we bought it unlimited, so we got it knocked out. It is beautiful. She picked a beautiful, it's called a magnetic gray color. It's got metal flake in it. It's got 20-inch rims sitting on it. I mean, it's just sharp. It's to the nines. And I love the way it looks. She's really happy with it. I'm glad she's happy. I would do anything for that woman, and there's not enough money in the world for me to spend on her. But like literally it has heated seats, and then for the summer option it will blow cool air, so you can turn it on and you can set your ass in that car, in a 115 degree car, and it'll blow cool air up your butt to cool you off, which is a hell of an option.
Yeah, I've heard of heated seats, but having AC is just a whole other level.
Yeah, but it's a pretty slick ride. We're happy with it. It looks great. Thank you, Ublar and Sons, for tracking us one down. We had to get out of Tennessee, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because if they couldn't have found the one we wanted, it was going to take 6 to 8 weeks to get it to us, because it had to have been built.
Who makes, where in Toyota do they make the 4Runner?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. I know a lot of it has Japanese writing on it, so I want to still believe they make quite a few of them in Japan.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have thought they would have made it here in the U.S., but maybe not.
Old school, all of them were made in Japan.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think they moved a few years ago, but regardless, they're beautiful vehicles. It got plenty of ass behind it getting on the throttle. It's nice and quiet. The ride is smooth for a... It's not a full-size SUV, but it's not a mid-size either, because I feel like the Highlander's a mid-size.
The Highlander is a mid-size.
Yeah, but so it's like the in-between.
I think the 4Runner's bigger than the Highlander is.
Oh, absolutely. It's much larger.
It's a fucking tank.
Yeah, but then you have the Sequoia, which is a real fucking tank. like the 4Runner's a Sherman, and the Sequoia is an M1 Abram. Like it's a different. But no, I mean, dude, it fits in my one-car garage that was built in the 50s quite easily. So,
dude, when you sent me the pictures of that and you said you were happy that it fit in the garage, I was like, he's fucking bullshitting me. Like, your garage isn't small, but
no, but it's not big by any means. But it does fit actually, and Jen has room. Which is also a nice thing. I'm hoping to have a tree brought down soon so I can get some shit out of the garage.
I thought to practice our lifting, we were going to strap the tree around with a chain link, and you and I were just going to pull for days until it came down.
That's a great idea. It'll help that deadlift technique.
Just can I tell you something I've always thought about?
Sure.
So, you know how, like, people write stories of epic things that they've done in their life, like they used to back in the days? Like, people would write letters back and forth, you know.
Okay.
Like, and people had time capsules and shit like that.
Yeah.
So, I've always thought, like, and this is something that I did as a joke in high school, is I apologize to anybody that's religious or anything like that. As a joke in high school, in my biology class, when we were done doing our work, our teacher usually would let us bullshit around, and it was around yearbook season, and me and this girl, her name is Tiffany Pike, we fucking wrote this. It was called the Evan Wells Epic, of like epic shit that it was just bullshit stuff that I had done.
Uh-huh.
And it would write, like, in her yearbook, I'll have to see if she still has it. I'll bring it in on the show and read it sometime. I wrote down, like, epic shit that Evan Wells, the strongest man in the world, did. Like, I used to grab tornadoes by my hand, and I'd whirl them around as the drummer from Rush, Neil Peart, would do like a drum solo, and I would destroy mountains with it. I've always wondered, because she has a time capsule, and she's into that stuff, and she put her yearbook in it that has that in there. And I've always wondered if one day, like, say some crazy shit happens and civilization has to start over, like some meteorites hit, or like the super volcano under Yellowstone Park just blows up and it fucks up the entire world, that if some new civilization on Earth comes along and picks up that time capsule and opens up the yearbook and reads Evan Wells and all the shit that he's done, if, like, they're going to revere me as, like, a god or some crazy deity, like, like, for real, like, you know, we were talking about pulling down the tree with our bare hands, like, that's some shit I would have written in there.
Yeah.
And, like, we could be gods, basically. I mean...
So what you're saying is I need to write the word of Zach.
No, like, seriously, like, you could be, like, we could create a pantheon.
There's only going to be a couple chapters, kids.
You don't need a whole lot. I mean, short and sweet is the way it should be. But I just think it's funny. Like, you could have, you know, people make time capsules all the time. Like, I just want someone to pick up that yearbook one day and be like, that Evan Wells guy, he's, like, it'll be in history books in, like, 2050 of the shit I've done.
Yeah, I can see it.
I'm just saying. If anybody has any, like, crazy time capsule stories, please tell us, because I would love to hear them. And tell me your opinion on time capsules as well, because I just think it's fucking cool. Like, we could be God. We could be heroes. We could be like the new
day.
The new day.
New day pops. New day pops. I'm waiting to find the alcohol percentage, and I can't find it on this beer.
Are you that drunk? Like, you just...
No, just thinking.
Listen, Zach's hammered.
We're actually really, I really enjoyed this beer this time around. Thank you very little. And
thank you very well. They're supposed to put it on there.
Well, goddamn it ain't. So, listen, kids, it's not on there. We had a great time on this podcast, cutting back, just shooting the shit, nothing serious. Tune in next week. We might be a little work weary, but nonetheless, we will bring you a piping hot new episode 10 of the Main Event Podcast.
We're going to be double, baby.
And there you go. We're going to look up a couple different beers and have them on here and hopefully have a good time. Please hit us up on our email. Evan?
Our email is themainevent45@gmail.com. If you want to send us a Snapchat, send it to Our Main Event. Don't send it to my Snapchat anymore because, by God, for some reason, I've gotten a lot of very crazy Snapchats since I put it on there, and that's my mistake. But at the same time, thank you.
Hit us up on Facebook, our Main Event Podcast page. We have it out there. If you're looking for the picture, it is a wrestling ring with the main event in red, white, and blue.
Good old America.
We will have the links to iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube up tonight as you hear this tomorrow. And please like and give us a rating. We're wanting your feedback.
please,
everything from the show.
Yes, please go to especially iTunes, Google Play, subscribe to us, give us 5-star reviews. The more of those that we have, the more people we're able to reach out to in the big wide world of the internet. Another thing as well, we're going to put up the post on Facebook. We're going to put it on our own personal Facebooks as well. Again, give us some feedback. Please tell us what you think the time is going to be for the Goldberg-Lesnar match. Person who has the closest time is going to get a 6-pack of Yingling and a 6-pack of hand-picked craft beer, probably from the Beverage Barn over in Henderson, Kentucky.
Absolutely.
With our new best friend, the Pallet Destroyer, Matt Watson. So definitely, we're going to pick that out for you guys. But in order for that to go, you guys have to play along. If you don't play along with it, then we can't do it. I mean, it's free beer. Like, why the fuck would you not do it? All you have to do is type in a time. Is it that hard? No, it's not. So you should fucking do it. Other than that, again, check us out, SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, Google Play. I think that pretty much wraps up the show.
That's a wrap, guys. We love you. You know we mean it. Tune in next week for episode 10 of the Main Event Podcast.